My dad called me out of nowhere after 3 years of silence. 3 years. No birthday calls, no texts, no, "Hey, how are you doing?" Nothing. Just radio silence like I didn't exist. So when he invited me to dinner, I thought maybe, just maybe, something had changed. Maybe he felt guilty. Maybe he wanted to make things right. I got dressed up. I actually got excited. And that was my first mistake. The restaurant he picked was nice. Not over the top, but nice enough that I knew he was trying to make a point. He was already seated when I walked in, and sitting right next to him was my stepmom, Linda, and my 2 stepbrothers. Nobody told me it was going to be a group thing. I should have turned around right then, but I sat down, smiled, and told myself to give him a chance. It started subtle. Little comments here and there. Linda mentioned how my stepbrother just got promoted. My dad nodded proudly and looked at me like he was waiting for me to react. Then my other stepbrother started talking about his new car, his new apartment, his new everything. And every single time, my dad would glance over at me with this look. You know the look. The one that says, "See how well they turned out?" I kept my mouth shut and ordered my food. But then, my dad put his fork down, leaned back in his chair, and said it. Clear as day, right there in front of everyone. He said, "You know, I always knew you were going to struggle. You never had the drive these boys have. You're just not built for success." And then he laughed. Linda laughed. The boys smirked into their drinks, and I just sat there. I want you to understand something. This wasn't the first time he said something like that to me. Growing up, I heard it constantly. That I wasn't smart enough, wasn't motivated enough, that I'd end up broke and alone. And for a long time, I believed him. I let those words follow me around like a shadow. But sitting at that table, something shifted in me. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just smiled, put my napkin on the table and said, "Thanks for dinner," and I walked out. Now here's where the story gets interesting. What my dad didn't know, what none of them knew, was what I had been doing during those 3 years of silence. While he was busy writing me off and building up his perfect little family image, I was building something real. I had started a small business about 18 months before that dinner. Nothing flashy at first, just grinding quietly, learning, failing, adjusting, and growing. By the time he called me to that restaurant, the business was doing well. Really well. I just never felt the need to post about it or announce it to anyone, especially not to people who had already decided who I was. But here's the part that I still can't believe happened. About a week after that dinner, I got a call from my uncle. He told me my dad had gone into some kind of investment deal with a guy in his friend group. Apparently, this guy had been promising huge returns, painting this picture of easy money, and my dad went all in. So did Linda. They pulled from savings, borrowed against their house, convinced my stepbrothers to invest too. The whole family in together. The guy disappeared. The money was gone. Every single cent. My uncle called me because he didn't know what else to do. He said my dad was in a bad place and that maybe I could help. And I sat with that for a long time. I really did. Because part of me wanted to say, not my problem. Part of me wanted to remind everyone what was said to me at that dinner table. But that's not who I am. And honestly, becoming bitter was never going to be my revenge anyway. What I did was reach out to my dad directly. Not to rub it in. Not to say I told you so. I called him, told him I heard what happened, and asked if he needed help navigating it. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said something I never expected to hear from him. He said he was sorry. Not just for the investment disaster, but for the dinner, for the years of silence, for the things he said when I was growing up. He said sitting in that mess made him realize how wrong he had been about everything, especially about me. I didn't have some dramatic emotional breakdown on the phone. I just listened. And then I connected him with a financial advisor I trusted and helped him figure out what options he had left. I didn't fix everything. Some of what they lost was just gone. But I showed up. Not because they deserved it, but because I knew what kind of person I wanted to be, regardless of how they treated me. Here's what I need you to take away from this. The best revenge is never about hurting someone back. It's about building so hard and so quietly that when the moment comes, your life is the proof. My dad spent years telling me I wasn't built for success. And while he was saying that, I was out here actually building it brick by brick without anyone watching or cheering me on. I didn't need his approval to move forward. I just needed to stop letting his voice live in my head rent-free. And the wild thing is, our relationship today is different. Not perfect, not some fairy tale reconciliation, but different. There's an honesty between us now that was never there before. He asks about my work. He listens. He doesn't make those comments anymore. People can change, but usually only after life forces them to look at themselves clearly. If you've got someone in your life who has written you off, who laughs at your dreams or makes you feel like you're not enough, just stay quiet and stay focused. Let your results do the talking. Because one day, and I promise you this, one day the table is going to turn, and when it does, you want to be standing there as someone who built something real, not someone who wasted their energy on anger